doing?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, I'm good. But I'm not the one that has a new EP out, your first EP. How
True.
does it feel?
It feels a bit like it's not real. Like when I first saw it on my Spotify at midnight, I was like, "Oh my God, what the hell?" I couldn't believe it because it was my dream for so long, and I honestly, I didn't think I'd come this far. Like I'd go this far, I think. So it's really special to have this out. Yeah.
What's the reaction been like from people you know so far?
Oh, it's been great. People actually really enjoy the songs, especially Saturday Night, which is like the last track. And also it was like the second lead single of the album. So people really like this one. It's my favorite too. So I really can't wait to play all of those songs live. And I think it's gonna be great. But yeah, the reactions has been great so far. So yeah.
Nice. So you mentioned Saturday Night, which that came out as a single a few weeks ago before the EP.
Yeah.
And like Saturday Night is not an unusual song title. There's been a lot of songs called Saturday Night, but usually they're happy songs and they're usually about going out and celebrating and living life. But your song is not really a happy song.
No, no, yeah. I wrote it when I was 17 and I actually like left the party because that's what's being told in the song. It's like, oh, I left the party, I'm feeling alone, even though I'm surrounded by people, and when I wrote it, I had actually like left the party and I was feeling so lonely. I feel like sometimes even when you're surrounded by a crowd, and sometimes even more so when you're surrounded by a crowd, you kind of feel lonely. It kind of makes you feel unwell when you're like not feeling well. It doesn't help.
Yeah.
And I feel like I wanted to kind of highlight that because yeah, there are many songs about having nice Saturday nights and all of that, but truth is not every Saturday night is a happy experience. And yeah, I thought it was cool to kind of see that as something different, not something happy and party and all of that. Because for me, parties are not always like, they're not always fun. Not if you're not feeling good, and you know, it's just gonna make you feel more lonely, I think. Well, in my case. So I guess that's what I was trying to explain in the song. And people have been like reacting really good to the track so far. So I think maybe I'm not the only one. So yeah.
I think you're definitely not the only one, but now whenever you're out on a Saturday night or any night, people are going to be coming over and checking you're okay.
Yeah, it's already happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. People are joking with me about that, but it's okay. I mean, I wrote it, so I'm just gonna, stand by it.
Yeah, and like you say, I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to that feeling. I know I can. I've been there. So it's definitely a different twist on the Saturday night thing. I think it's a really interesting song, and it's just a really great pop song as well. So the EP is called Growing Up, which seems appropriate because you're still young and this is all kind of brand new to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is growing up a theme, would you say, through the entire record?
Yeah, definitely. They're all songs that I wrote from ages 17 to 20. So I'm 22 now. So I wrote them like 2, 3, even 5 years ago for Saturday Night. But yeah, they're all songs, like each song kind of has its own theme. So Saturday Night is about like the loneliness of being at a party, not feeling well, feeling lonely, all of that. And then there is Numb, which I wrote when I was 19, and it's about feeling like you have to do the same thing every day, but it's kind of not fun anymore. You feel like you're a robot a little bit. So hence the title Numb.
Okay, so you say you wrote that when you were 19.
Yeah.
So that was just before the pandemic you wrote that?
Yeah.
And then it all came true. This
Yeah.
repetitive not being able to do what you want.
Yeah. Actually, the only one that I wrote like during the pandemic, not before, is Interlude, which is like the segue in the middle of the album, and it's the shortest song, also the only one in French. But yeah, the pandemic, I feel like if you weren't feeling that well before, it didn't help, you know? Like
Yeah.
it kind of like, I don't know, but it wasn't a good thing for people not feeling that well before. So yeah, I had written them before. Um, I felt like I was just like waking up, going to school, eating, sleep, repeat, and I felt a bit trapped in that. So I wrote Numb. And then I also wrote Someone New, which is about, you know, when you first fall in love and you feel like you have to change for the person in order to be loved. So Someone New was more about that. And then there's 20, which is about not being taken seriously as a young woman, and kind of it's an angry song. It's a pop rock song, and it's kind of that feeling of people not taking you seriously. Also, I'm talking a bit of the about the school system in that song, the fact that it's definitely not made for everyone. So yeah, and then there's Interlude, which is actually recorded many of my friends' voices, and they're just talking about their experience during the pandemic, because I really wanted to make it about mental health. Um, so yeah, they're all like kind of, I took like snippets of their voices and I put them all in the song, and it's like they're just talking about how they felt and what was hard for them during the pandemic. And then there's Saturday Night, which is about loneliness. So yeah, I would say that all of those songs, each of them represents something that I went through while growing up. Um, and I think that young adults and teenagers are probably going to be able to relate to that. And adults too, maybe they're going to remember what they were going through at the time.
Also, there's a lot of influences on this album. There's a lot of different sounds. There's a lot of different instruments as well. So talk to me a little bit about that. Who did you collaborate with, and what did you do yourself on the record?
Yeah, so I wrote all of the songs, but I worked on them a lot with my producer, Isabelle Banos. She's amazing. She also mixed all of the tracks. And then while I'm singing and playing the electric guitar on all of my songs, because that's my main instrument, the guitar. But I'll also have, on Saturday night, I have two saxophones. So there are two great McGill players. They're called Noamia, Jeremy Leon, and it's them who are playing like the big sax solo in the middle of the song. So they're amazing. I actually met them in Cégep when we were all studying music, and we had a band back in the days. And then we used to play Saturday night. I just called them and was like, "Hey, would you want to maybe record this song after all those years?" And they were like, "Sure." And also, same thing for the bassist and the drummer. So Sam Sylvestre and Mathis Colpron. Mathis is actually from McGill too. And yeah, it's all like my old band from back when I was in Cégep, and I just asked them if they would want to redo this song for old time's sake. And I also have trumpet and sax on Someone New. I feel like it's a blend of my pop influences mixed with my jazz, neo soul, R&B influences, because I studied jazz at school. So I wanted to, because I wrote those songs at the beginning with saxophone and all of that in all of the songs. And I didn't put it in all of the songs. Like, for example, Numb, there were a lot of horns and stuff like that, but I wanted to make it more pop. But I kept that kind of jazz, I guess, vibe in Saturday Night and Someone New. But some people were like, "Oh, like Saturday Night, it's jazz and all that," and I'm like, "No, it's not jazz. Like there are jazz influences, but to me, it's not like a jazz song. It's more a neo soul song, Robert Glasper kind of vibe." I was really inspired by his album Black Radio, which is really good neo soul. So yeah.
you mentioned you play guitar, and you said that's your main instrument. So what other instruments do you play?
Oh, well, I sing. I also play the piano. I think all of the tracks, it's me who's playing the piano. Maybe one of them is my producer, but I play the piano too. Actually, that was the first instrument that I started, except for the voice. I played drum for a bit also. I'm a bit rusty now, but I can play. And I played classical guitar too, which was really hard when I was in high school. But I feel like my main instruments are, well, my voice and the electric guitar, because I've been singing since I was so young, and I studied the guitar for like 4 years and a half, I think.
Did you grow up in a musical household? Are any of your family musicians?
No,
No.
not at all. My dad is basically tone deaf, so that's not good. And my mom's not that good either. No, honestly, I don't know where that comes from, because like they're journalists, like. But I started liking music when I was 9, and Michael Jackson died. I know that's weird, but that's actually what happened. Like, I was like, oh, who's that? And then I saw pictures, and I was kind of fascinated because, of his persona and all of that. And I started listening to his music, and I was like, oh my God, I want to be able to like do the same, to sing those songs. And it started out that way. And my parents, like, yeah, they listened to music, but as I said, they weren't musicians. They weren't like, they listened to music from time to time just for fun, but they weren't like that passionate about music. So and I have a brother and a sister, and they're not into music either. I don't know where that comes from, but I started singing, and then I started the piano, the electric guitar, the classical guitar. I just couldn't get enough of it. I taught myself guitar and piano, and then I started taking lessons. And I've been singing since I was 9. So, but I started taking lessons more recently. But I think I don't know what is like, what force drives me to do all of that, because it's not as if, oh, my parents are musicians, I'm gonna do the same. Like, no. So I'm not sure where that comes from, but I've just always been really passionate about music. So
Saturday Night, okay, you said you wrote that when you were 17.
Yeah.
How old were you when you first wrote any song?
Oh, I think I was like 10. It was really bad.
Can you remember anything about that song?
Oh my God. I think it was about a guy. That's the worst part. Like, I was 10 writing
At 10?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's so bad. Yeah, I actually think so. I was a weird child, I think. But it's always been a way for me to just kind of let feelings out. Whenever I'm feeling down or sad or whatever, I just go to the guitar, I go to my piano, and I write. And yeah, I started doing that, like, well, at the beginning it was in French, because I speak French at home and I couldn't understand English, but I taught myself English because I wanted to understand like Michael Jackson songs and all of that. So yeah, but yeah, my first song, I was 10. I remember it was about a boy. And recently I found like a notebook of songs that I wrote when I was like 13 to 15-ish. And honestly, it was like so bad, but I'm like, it was practice,
Yeah.
I think that Saturday Night is the first song that I wrote that was actually good. Like, I could actually work on it and it was worth it, But the ones before that, I had to learn. But you have to write a lot of songs to be good, I think.
Yeah, it's the same with everything. There's not many artists that write like hit singles when they're 12 years old.
Yeah.
Apart from Aurora, who I spoke to earlier this year, and she has that song "Runaway," which she wrote when she was 12. And,
oh my God!
Yeah,
that's impressive.
But I think those people are few and far between. So yeah, you have to practice and take all your influences. And it sounds like your music taste is really varied. Mm-hmm. So all those influences coming together, hopefully create something brand new. What have you been listening to recently? What kind of music has excited you in the last year or so?
In the last year, my favorite album has definitely been An Evening with Silk Sonic by Silk Sonic, which is Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars. That album is just, I could listen to it all day. It's just so good. And yeah, I hope they're going to make a second album because that was amazing. Also, wait up, I'm going to take my Spotify. Because that's a good question, because I always listen to albums like all the way through.
Right.
So it's hard to
that's quite rare these days, especially for people of your age group, because most people are listening to playlists or just putting things on random.
Yeah, so. But I don't like that. I don't do that often. I'd rather kind of just get into the artist world and try to understand what they're trying to make, because for me, I'm like, I hope people are going to listen to my album like all the way through to kind of understand what I was trying to make, because for me it's like, it's art, you know, it's not just like, so yeah, I'd rather listen to albums all the way through. So I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, so in my music I can see that her last two albums, Folklore and Evermore, they're amazing, really beautifully written. Like those albums really inspired me to kind of just write more, write better, because she has a way of telling stories that is extremely it's so good, and people are like, oh, she's just like that pop girl singing Shake It Up, stuff like that, but no, she's actually an amazing songwriter. So yeah, I really like those albums. And Maisie Peters also, I really like her album You Signed Up for This. She's an amazing songwriter from England. I think she's actually younger than me, but she's really, really good. So I listen to that. Yeah, I have Lana Del Rey's here also, Ultraviolence. You know, I really like listening to women who write their own songs, because it kind of inspires me to just, write more and be better. And yeah, I honestly, I could go on for hours, because I have so much music that I've just been listening to so much in the past year. But yeah.
So that's what you've been listening to. Are any of those artists like, do you look at them and think, I would love to have a career like that person?
Oh, that's a good question.
Obviously they're all very popular, which is one thing, but sometimes popularity is not the only thing you want from a career, especially if it's going to be a long-lasting career.
Yeah, that's totally true. Well, if I'm looking at Taylor Swift, for example, I think she's a great example of a career that is successful, because she's always reinventing herself through all of her albums. They're so different from one another. I feel like I would be aiming at having a career a bit like hers, because she's still relevant to this day, you know. I'm seeing that Joshua Tree poster behind you. I really like U2 also. I really listened to them a lot when I was younger, and I feel like U2 too kind of has a way of reinventing themselves over a longer span of years than Taylor Swift. But I really admire that, because when you're always doing the same thing as an artist, people these days, they get so bored so easily, and you kind of have to reinvent yourself a little bit, I think. So yeah, those artists are great examples to me, because they've been able to do that.
I think also U2 are a good example of having a career where not only is it the same lineup that they started with when they were in school, right? It's never changed.
Yeah.
They've experimented with dance music and lots of different things along the way. But also, I was going to tell you that picture is actually signed by the guy who took the picture.
No way. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm a photographer as well, so I appreciate not only the music but the photography.
Yeah.
Goes with
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, such a good picture. Yeah.
it. So the EP's out. Are you thinking about an album?
Um, I'm not sure about that right now. I feel because my whole concept was to like make two EPs, and one would be called Growing Up, which I just released, and then I wanted to do another one which is going to be called Grown Up, and it's going to be all of the songs that I wrote like from 20 up to right now. So I really want to do that because it's kind of two EPs that are, they're like siblings. So I really want to do that and maybe a couple singles, I don't know, but not an album right now. I feel like if you release an album, you really have to make a statement because people's attention span, it's not that good nowadays. So you kind of have to, yeah, make a statement and really, I don't know how to explain it. It's hard for me to explain, but I feel like I'm not at the point of my career when I want to make an album and I feel like I have something to say for like 12 songs that are all related to one another because I'm still so early in my career and my songs are a bit, I'm still trying to find my sound, find my voice. I feel like maybe after the second EP I'm gonna be at that point, but yeah, I want to make the second EP before that. But definitely I want to make an album in the future, yeah.
So tell people where they can find you online.
Yeah, so you can type Anemone, Anemone in English. I actually have the accent on the E, but on Instagram it's Anemone __ C. I also have Facebook, also it's just Anemone. Also my website, it's anemone-music.com. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Honestly, when you type my name, I should be in the first ones to pop up, I hope. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll put links into the video as well so people can find you.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it's been really nice talking to you and nice to meet you. And hopefully I'll get to see you if you play in Montreal.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.